Noah Randolph, teaching pastor here. And
welcome to the weekly deep dive. I always have to come over to my seat and pull up the iPad.
You didn't grunt this time, so.
I didn't grunt when I sat down. I'm feeling okay. Trying to avoid any mouth noises into the microphone to make people really uncomfortable. Yeah. But you're good, man. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to our weekly deep dive. Noah just introduced himself here earlier. That's Noah Randolph, our teaching pastor. My name is Nick Griffin. I am the lead pastor here at Wayfarers, and we have a special guest with us today. I'll go ahead and introduce over here. We've got Garrett Sayles. He is a pastor at Abundant Grace Fellowship. What's your specific title there? How would you?
I guess you could say young adult.
Young adult pastor, leader.
You could say, yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
Yeah.
We thought we'd bring Garrett in a little bit today, help talk about some of the stuff that we're going to be covering. But before we get into the topic specifically, we always do a little bit of an icebreaker with all our guests, and every week, even if it's just me and Noah. But I've got one.
Oh, you got
this
one?
Week. Okay. I'm gonna steal this one. From China, actually. Your fiance, who is sitting over here. I got to be a part of a Bible study with Garrett and his fiance, China, and she had a really great icebreaker. It's a real simple one. Just how are you doing? Like, legitimately, not like just not like hey, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. But she was just like be honest. How are you doing? How's everybody doing today? I figure that's a good question for the type of Wednesday that today is. That's and everything else that's too. Fair. So, you want to start, Noah?
Yeah.
How are you doing? Honestly?
How are we doing? I am not yet at the point where I'm feeling anything because we haven't yet seen how things are going to turn out yet. I guess I'm just like waiting on pins and needles to figure out exactly how this is all going to pan out election-wise. A little bit of anticipation. I feel pretty good. I had some very sweet people after Sunday service just reach out and tell me how good a job I did, and I was very thankful for that. I don't know if pastors talk about this a lot, but having people just reach out and tell you that was really awesome means a lot. It means a lot more than you might think it does. So, So it's
kind of like mixed. You're like feeling good.
Yeah. Well, I had my birthday on Monday, and that was really good too. So, turned 26, and so it's been a good week. It's been a really good week for me. So,
just a little bit anxious because of
It's always weird when your birthday is like literally the day before election. So it's like an up and a down.
It's just a weird time for elections, so it's definitely understandable.
So
it's a very strange time.
What about you, Garrett? How are you doing? Feel free to get the mic as close to your mouth as you want to. We don't have very good equipment, so you got to get it like real close for it to be real loud.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you're good.
Can I see my face? I'm just.
Yeah, there you go. That's better.
That's perfect.
How I'm doing? I'm doing fairly good. I am just taking it really one day at a time. There's a lot of things going on. Just got engaged, so there's that. Then we're planning the wedding, which is going to be November 28th, and definitely it's going to be small, very intimate, with family, immediate family, just about really because right now we're more so focused on the relationship right now and just getting those things squared away, the home, the relationship, just the financial part of it, just getting that squared away.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I know a lot of people. She know a lot of people, and we invite one friend, and next thing everybody else, why you invite me? And to avoid all that, we're gonna just make it immediate family.
I feel you.
We'll have our
That's
big
smart.
wedding. We'll have our big wedding next year. So we're gonna have one. It's just a year later. And that way, everybody has a year in advance to get things together for it. And so at that point, we're probably gonna have really just one big reception.
Yep.
I've
heard of a few people doing that in this current season, so that's cool.
She was just telling me on the way over here she thought about doing that, so I was like, well, cool with me.
Yeah.
Cool. So there's that. I actually get to minister this upcoming Tuesday at MSCC. for chapel, and so I'm definitely get my message together for that in the praise and worship segment, and just trying to be innovative with the praise and worship segment, and the people rehearsing. They're definitely getting together. I think come Tuesday, it'll be very well put together. They're
awesome.
Figuring it out.
You got practice right after this, don't you?
Yeah. So I'm gonna swing by there and just kind of see how everything's going, see what they're getting together. Actually, the person spearheading the praise and worship segment is my fiance's aunt, so very creative. So she can definitely.
That's awesome.
I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah, for those of y'all watching, if you want to tune in to MidSouth Christian College's chapel services, you can just find the MidSouth Facebook page. Just look up MidSouth Christian College. We've been live streaming the chapel services there, and this upcoming Tuesday, that's what Garrett was talking about. He's getting to lead that chapel service, and he's doing a lot of really cool stuff with the music and the teaching and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's going to be a good one. You should definitely tune in if you want to see what all they've been working on for these last couple of weeks. I'm pretty excited about it myself. So so yeah, you got a lot going on, man. You just got engaged. You got the you got this cool project going for the school.
Definitely working for the church, just trying to do things for the church. And I know me and you've been working on some things,
right?
Thinking about doing a is that official yet?
Yeah, I mean, we can talk about it a little bit. We're Garrett and I have been working on a few different things. We're trying to figure out some different projects to get different churches in the area together, and we've been working on a lot of different ideas, a lot of different projects.
Yeah, young pastors networking, just things of that nature. It's definitely a lot of it's a lot. So I'm literally just one day at a time. I could easily forget something. Relate loud. I'll be just reading or doing something. Oh, I gotta do this real quick, and I'm forgetting. So it's I need to invest in a planner, like my phone. Unless I tell Siri remind me, I probably invest in a planner that I can just look at. I probably need to do that.
Remember what you
tonight.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
So just to kind of remind myself, because at this point, and I have another job where I'm running social media for another business contracting company. So that's that, making a website for that, and me working on that as well.
Yep.
So it's just a lot, but
you said earlier when you came in, you said you're kind of tired at the moment. So I understand you got a lot going on.
Yeah. I found it ironic that we're talking about rest, because that's what I need right now.
Yeah.
That's a perfect segue, because that's honestly why I wanted to have you on. Yeah. I did this latest sermon on rest, and I've found more so than anyone else. Nick is an Enneagram 3, and Enneagram.
Have you ever heard of that? Are you familiar with the Enneagram?
I have not. What is that?
So it's a cult. If you ask people that some people would say it's like a cult pretty much, but it's this personality thing, like Myers-Briggs, choleric, sanguine, all the different like personality tests people will do for different types of personality types. Okay. Even like the ones on Facebook that are like, which Marvel superhero are you, or something like that?
Well, accurate sometimes.
Yeah, so for real. So this is there's a kind of a framework for understanding personality called the Enneagram.
Okay.
It's gotten really popular in a lot of Christian circles. Christian like hipsters are like super into it. Mm-hmm. Me and Noah have been super into it. It's really helped us understand our own personalities, and it's helped me with my marriage a lot. It's really helped me understand my wife's personality. And long story short, it gives you a number there's 9 different numbers for like these 9 different types of personalities, and each person will kind of get assigned a number, and it goes even deeper from there, but that's the basic thing. Okay. And each personality type has different things associated with it. Okay. So based on the Enneagram, Noah is a 4 on the Enneagram, and I'm probably a 3 on the Enneagram. Mm-hmm. We do a whole episode explaining all the differences on that. Yeah. But the 3 is somebody who's generally like a really high achiever, who's always trying to like get things done, always really interested in receiving praise from other people, doing a good job, really focused on their image, really focused on getting things done. Yeah. That's my personality type. Okay. And we don't know about you, but we suspected that we feel like me and you have a lot of similarities to our personalities. And so earlier today when we were talking, me and Noah were talking about this topic, it's something that really hits home for people like me who who like working, who do a lot of work, who are involved in a lot of different projects. Yeah. And Noah's like, you should we need Garrett on today too, because he's totally that way too. So, you know, we're suspecting that there's some similarities in our personalities there, in the way we
I'm sure
work.
It is. I'm very sure it is.
Yeah. So that's like perfect. So one of the things I wanted to have both of you on was kind of just have a conversation about like, what is ministry life like, you know, working, and also with Sabbath as a concept, and what does Sabbath mean to both of you? Like, what was it? Was it something that you've always like heard growing up, or was it something that like as time progressed, like you developed and said, I need to rest more? Or is that something that's never been like on your radar before? Like, how does Sabbath really fit into y'all's workspace lives? And we can start with you, Garrett, and then we'll have Nick.
Okay. So the first question is, what is ministry life like?
Yeah. What is ministry life like? And like, would you say that Sabbath has been a part of that, or has it not been? Or
ministry life is definitely what I asked for. Mm-hmm. So by no means will I ever complain about it. Well, will I never, have my regrets for pursuing full-time ministry. So it's fulfilling. I definitely wake up every morning and feel like I'm in my purpose, who I'm called to be. Mm-hmm. I may not be exactly doing where I'm trying to get. Yeah. But I could definitely see like I'm way more closer than I would have been if I just didn't make the decision to leave my job. This year? Was that this year? Yeah, this year.
This year, yeah.
So it's fulfilling. It's fun. It definitely has its challenges, because when you're transitioning from work, throw a contrast out there to make it seem like working in, society is just this downright bad thing, because some people are called to work in the marketplace, even if they are in church. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to knock that, but I definitely can see the how your mindset, the way you even like think about stuff and how you treat people, like it definitely has to shift. Because working in like society, you're thinking about, there's a lot of rules and codes and obligations and things that separate you from that person. You can't do this because the contract says this. Mm-hmm. So I'm protected by a contract. Yeah. That makes sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in ministry, granted, yes, like there's the Bible. You do, abide by that. But really at the end of the day, when it comes to ministry, it really boils down to how, are you a good person? And that's the...
So would you say it's like a stress-free job, or would you say it's like a job where you need...
Is it like more stressful than you remember? Yeah. Or is it about the same?
I have my days.
Just different?
You have your days?
It depends.
It depends?
I honestly have my days. Some days I'm like, yeah, but some days I'm just like, man, I ain't trying to do this today. And it's just, some days you just get drained. Yeah. It's a lot. And then there's a lot pulling on you, people calling and doing you do this and that. So it's definitely a balance, because in ministry, there's always something to do. I'm learning that now. It's always something to do. Yeah. And so it's just that, just find that balance to kind of just rest. So ministry life is definitely fulfilling, but if you're not careful, you can burn out.
Do you feel like you're putting in more hours, like just as far as like 40 hours a week, or are you putting in like more or less than you feel like you used to?
Definitely
when
more.
Yeah.
Because I have not been sleeping a lot lately. I'll go to bed at, it just depends. Sometimes 9, sometimes 10. It could be like 12. And I'll literally get up about like 3:30, 4. And I can't go back to sleep. So I'm up reading all night or all morning. So I'm reading, processing. I'll get sermons in my head. They'll come to me and I jot them down, and then I'll go back I'll lay down. Oh, no, I got to add that too. And I'll get back up and go add something else. And I'll get down and add something else. So it's like, wait, what was the question again?
Well, yeah, we were just asking about ministry life and what it looks like for you. And it sounds like what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like what you're saying is it's kind of stressful, and that it's something that you don't get a lot of sleep a lot of times with.
And I guess it's just right now, because right now it's a lot going on. I definitely think it's one of these things that I think we are trying to create passive income. In the beginning, it's going to be a lot, but then once it gets going, then it kind of settles.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, starting something off is going to be a lot you got to put in time, but then once it really just gets going.
Yeah.
My brother, he's a very, he's like a economics guru. And yeah, I like, he just, like the same way I am with ministry, he's the same way with like business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And
See the guy that has the T-shirt thing? Yeah.
He started a T-shirt brand called Main T-shirts, and honestly, like it's, you know, most people start T-shirts like brands all the time, and it does okay. But no, like matter of fact, I'll never forget the story of I was in Kroger, and I was leaving Kroger, and I saw a lady walking in as I was exiting Kroger, and I was like, "Hey, nice shirt," and she had on shirt my brother made.
Yeah.
A lot of people have them on. And
yeah, you should look them up on Instagram if you're if any of y'all are watching. Just look up Main T-shirts, MANE.
Yeah, MANE T-shirts. Yep. Thanks. And I said, "Hey, nice shirt," and she said, "Hey, thanks. You want one?" And I was like, "What you mean?" Because she does not know this is my brother.
Yeah.
That my brother made this brand. So she's like, "You want one?" And I was like, I already kind of have one, but like, what do you mean? She obviously didn't know, and I asked her. I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "I sell them." I was like,
so you're talking to like a third party dealer.
The irony, and the fact that I'm in this moment, like that was an irony in that moment. Yeah. And you know, whenever you tend to do things or start things that people tend to kind of want to like, what's the word? I hate to use copy, but copy. That's how you know you're doing something that's different.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so my brother, he definitely has a niche for that. And sorry. Yeah. So to kind of bring it back around. So you feel like the work that you're doing now is really stressful, but it's probably going to pay off. Yeah. In that way. Yeah. You know. He told me, I guess to get to the why I'm like this now is more so. He said, you definitely want to. How can you make money, or how can you create income where you don't have to be there, but it still generates money?
Right.
And can you generate money while, like we're doing right now?
Yeah.
You know, he said there's no better feeling than you sitting on the couch watching TV and your phone lights up. Oh, somebody paid $40 for a T-shirt. And you do that 8 times a day.
Right.
How do you,
without having to do the
labor
actual,
of it, you know? So it's just
that's cool.
Yeah.
No, that totally makes sense.
Yeah. So it sounds like work for you has this payoff that you're looking forward to. And Nick, we had kind of talked about that before, that you actually find work pleasurable, right? Could you kind of like talk about, like, is that always been the case for you? Like, was work that way as a kid? Is that how it is in ministry now? Like, how do you feel about working in church?
No, I love what I'm doing. I love the work that I'm doing, and I enjoy the work. I think I'm similar to you, where it's like it is a lot of work. You're not getting a lot of sleep. You're putting in a lot of hours, but it is really rewarding, and you're hoping it's going to be really rewarding in the long term. But I do really enjoy it. Yeah. And I always remember when I was talking about it, I've always had these conversations with my aunt, because we'll go visit my family. They live in Texas. I got a whole bunch of my mom's side of the family that lives over there. And my aunt and uncle, they clean houses, you know, and so it's really hard work that they do. And I remember once sitting there with my aunt, talking to her, and me and my dad are both sitting there, and she was just saying how much she's looking forward to retiring, because she's like, I'm so tired. I freaking hate my job. It's the worst. I'm so tired of working. I hate working. I can't wait to retire. And then she looked at both me and my dad, and she said, don't y'all feel that way? And we both looked at each other, and we were like, not really. We were both like, we really like our jobs. Like, we really like what we're doing. Yeah. And part of that is I'm not having to clean houses. You know, that's a sucky job. That's really hard. But I think both me and my dad, we feel like we've been blessed to be able to do work that really aligns with like our passions and desires and calling, and just, you know, all of that kind of comes together in a way that makes the work really enjoyable. Yeah. And so what's been interesting is, because of that, I work a lot. I like to work a lot. And I kind of get accused often of being like a workaholic, like I'm addicted to working.
Yeah.
And, there's aspects to that. But because of that, people would always try to talk to me about the Sabbath, and be like, you need to take a day off. You need to take a day of rest. You need to make sure that you're like taking a 7th-day rest every 7 days. You need to have one day that you're taking off. And it was always like this really, I don't know, judgmental like thing where they were just like, you need to, you're working too hard. You need to take a day off.
Yeah.
And I always rubbed up against that. I didn't like that. Like, it was always tough for me. And it's for a variety of reasons. And on the one side, I do think I maybe needed to learn some lessons from that, needed to learn how to grow from that. But in another side, I really don't feel like, one, I don't feel like the people who are saying that really fully understand what Sabbath is supposed to be and what it was supposed to be and how it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
And also, I just think they might not understand the kind of work that I'm doing, and why I enjoy doing the kind of work that I'm doing. I'm not like my aunt who's like, man, I just hate my job. I can't wait to quit. I can't wait to retire. Instead, I'm doing a job that I really enjoy and I really love. And it's kind of made it interesting as I've talked about those particular issues at different points in time. Just kind of thinking through what the Sabbath actually means and what it could mean for a person like me who really enjoys their job.
Yeah.
So
is it like, I suppose it sounds like both of you see work not as a labor that you have to do, but as actually something that like brings joy and life into your life. And is that true for you too?
Yeah.
Okay, just want to make sure. So I know a lot of people won't feel that way, and so when they hear Sabbath, they think, oh, Sabbath is that time that I get to take a day off or whatever.
Yeah.
So if Sabbath is not that for y'all because y'all enjoy work so much, where does Sabbath fall for you in the Bible? What does it mean to you?
What does it look like for people?
Yeah, what does it look? Yeah,
because I know that's what I was saying is one of the weird things. I think most people, when they read about Sabbath, read about taking a day off, one day every 7 days, making sure you have a day off from work, it's like good news and like exciting for them. They'll read it and be like, oh yeah, sweet. I can't wait for that. And I think I'm just one of those weird people that was like, I don't like that very much. I'd rather just keep going. Like, I'd rather just keep doing what I was doing. Yeah. So I have run across that way you're saying, whereas like most people would be like, I love this aspect of what the Bible teaches. Yeah. Whereas for me, that was like hard, something that I like kind of had struggles with. And so like I have my own way I've thought about it over the years about Sabbath, but what are your thoughts, Garrett? What have you thought about in different points of time? How do you apply it in your own life? Do you see yourself taking a day off very often, or do you just not what's it look like?
I guess it's for me, Nick, it can be hard because there are so many times where I will kind of like say I'm not going to do anything, that I'm just going to sit here and just be like not do anything. And I guess for me, I do have moments where I do shut down, and it may be honestly for like a day, but even in that, I still kind of find myself like fighting myself not to do something.
Yeah, 100%.
That's totally Nick.
The only thing I guess that I'm really fighting, it's really just because the way my brain works, my mind's always going, and so I have to shut my brain down. And when I get to a point where my brain it just can't take anymore, I have no choice but to. You know?
It just like shuts down on its own.
Yeah, and I'll know when it gets there. And at that point, I have enough. I'll just I guess I have to. I can't really finesse this, so I'll take a break. But then even like when I'm shutting down for like 2 or 3 hours, if I've shut down for that long, I'll have a question in my head, and I'll go on my phone and look and go on logos on my app and just be like, "What this is?" And I still find a way like to squeeze it in, and so it's like. No one, I guess, Nick, no one's ever called me a workaholic, but The only person who really just knows, it would be my fiance. I don't know.
That's what I was
would
thinking.
Call me one. I don't know.
We got China right here.
She's
What
right
would you
there.
say?
I don't know if she called me.
Is Garrett a workaholic? No? He's a thinker. Okay.
Okay.
So he's thinking all the time.
Yeah, so I guess it's like just my
Shutting the
head.
brain off doesn't ever happen for you.
Yeah, like if it shuts off, it's like I have no choice. But
Yeah.
you know, it even with that, I'm always like, what does this mean? Okay, let me go to the Bible. I'll read it and then I'll the Bible means this, not that. Like I'm talking about it and she's like, okay. Yeah. And that's a good thing because she's into with the Bible as well. So me figuring it out, I'm able to talk through it with her to make sure that it makes sense. And then if it don't, she'll, then she'll ask questions. So it's good. But yeah, so I guess for me, it's just, I guess for me, it's just my brain has to be like, okay, Garrett, stop for me really to stop.
And is that what Sabbath is for you, or where does Sabbath kind of fit into that for you, or is it?
For me, I've always looked at Sabbath as, and I agree, Nick, I agree with you. I think Sabbath, a lot of people look at it because I grew up in the church, and my fiance mentioned it yesterday. Me and Nick had a meeting with another pastor. I grew up in the church where my pastors always had to kind of like reshape people's thinking about concepts and scriptures in the Bible, because people would think that it means this when it really means this. Right. And so I've always kind of grew. And then I remember my pastor's sister, when I was in Sunday school, she always told us, like, when somebody tell you something, don't believe, not to say what they're saying isn't valid, right? But take it for face value, but go look it up yourself to make sure that, get your own revelation from this. Right. So I've always been kind of in the mindset of get my own revelation. And I have heard Sabbath a lot, but I've heard more terms of sabbaticals. People would take sabbaticals and they go on breaks and they, just.
Interesting.
And that makes, I guess that's feasible. Like, you may need a vacation.
Yeah.
Makes sense. But one thing that tripped me up was when I really got into the Bible and I was just reading and I honed in on like Jesus, like ministry practically. And one thing I noticed was a lot of his miracles were on the Sabbath. Right. And when you look in the Old Testament, it talks about, God rested on the seventh day. Right. And he, looked at everything, everything was good and kind of rested, and then he, admired his work and stuff like that. But then you look at Jesus, and Jesus was going. Yeah. He was going. And I guess one little small point, for Jesus to be on that boat during the sleep. Yeah.
Sleep during the storm.
How tired you have to be.
Yeah.
So that goes to show Jesus was working too. Like he took, you don't really see, unless, I guess I could be wrong, but you don't really see too many moments where he's asleep. Yeah. But when he on a boat, knocked out. So what what do you have to be doing to be on a boat, sleep?
During the middle of a storm.
And then, he talks about, about my Father's business, and a lot of the miracles that he did was on the Sabbath. So that made me think, wait a minute. Okay, wait. So it can't be just not doing anything. Right. The Bible says to imitate Jesus, right? Yeah. So it's something more to this. And then when I kept looking, my pastor gave me a dictionary, a Bible dictionary, and Sabbath means to cease. Right. To, put a hold on something. But when I went deeper, it's more so to put a cease on human activity. To focus more on, I guess you could, for lack of a better term, the church, or I would say put a cease on your own personal activity and focus more towards on God's creation, which is us. And I personally believe that the Sabbath, it is really deeply connected to taking care of the people sitting next to you, because Monday through Saturday, we're in our own minds on our own schedules. And if I'm in my own schedule, you're in your own schedule, you're in your own schedule, she's on her own schedule, and nobody's really checking on each other, it's going to like kind of dry up a little bit. But for me to stop what I'm doing and focus on you, Noah, and ask you how you doing, make sure, check on you, see how you're doing, that goes on. Like you said, just tell you that you did a good job on a Sunday, that goes a long way. So imagine if, we all kind of put a hold on what we want for a second and just tune into God and really figure out, okay, so how can I take care of my people today on one day? And that's just, a small piece of it. But I do think that, because you can rest and take a vacation and then get back to work. You can rest and still be unsettled. you can get sleep and still be kind of like bothered.
Yeah.
So
it sounds like what you're saying is that Sabbath to you is a lot more about stopping and noticing other people's struggles and helping them with those struggles than it might be just like taking a day off and not doing anything.
Yeah, because then that me serving a person, and I was reading something and it said that when it comes to humans, like we're designed we can't, even though we try to be double-minded sometimes.
Yeah.
It's either you're serving yourself or somebody else.
Yeah.
And I think marriage is a practice of the Sabbath, and when you're completely
focused on someone else,
your mind is completely focused on that person, and then it's the same reciprocated. So if I'm focused on China, she's focused on me, who goes without? So imagine if that trickled down to just people, and so I think marriage is a practice of the Sabbath.
Yeah.
If you can get that down packed, then you have a grasp of what this the Bible also talks about. There's what's the term? I think it's in Hebrews. I think it is somewhere in Paul's epistles where he talks about there's certain things that God gives us now, and those are like it's a small pinch of the bigger things to come. And I think that marriage is a small pinch of really what's to come. When it comes to get us, and that kind of thing. So,
right.
I think I'm focused on God's creation. God made us in His image, and I don't think He made us in His image to just treat it bad.
No. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. So you see Sabbath as like sort of also taking on a role in marriage, which was really cool. Is that so? Coming back to you, Nick, is that similar to how you believe?
Oh yeah.
Or
no, that's so funny.
I was about to say,
like,
I was about to say
a whole bunch of the stuff you're saying is exactly the same stuff. Me and Noah talked about this topic a little bit before you got here, and you're hitting a lot of the same points I hit. It's really funny, about it, and I think that's part of why we wanted to have this conversation, because I think most people who have no issue just chilling, taking a break, just gonna kick it for a little bit and not worry about it, have a tendency to maybe too narrowly define what Sabbath means. And so I think one of the benefits you can have when you have people maybe like me or you, people who like to work a little bit more, who enjoy the work that we're doing, is we can maybe help people have a different perspective on what Sabbath is. Yeah. I think we also have our own pitfalls where we are where we are blind to stuff because of that. Yeah. But part of my hope right now especially was just to make sure that I'm giving people multiple perspectives on what it means to rest. Okay. Because especially just with the environment in the world right now, I feel like stress and anxiety is just high for everybody. Yeah. And if you only think of resting as I'm just going to chill, not doing anything, and you can't find that space to rest, you're going to get really, really worn out really, really quickly. And so I think it's really helpful to just explain that there are ways to rest that don't involve just not doing anything. Because personally, what I've looked at it with a lot is we've been talking about it in this whole series that we've been doing on Genesis. I think it's really important to understand how the original Jews who were listening to these passages, how they would have put them into practice. And I think if you understand where they're coming from with it, we can learn some things that maybe we miss sometimes if we're looking at it from our culture and our perspective. Yeah. And the first time I ever noticed it was there's this really famous book on the Sabbath by this Jewish rabbi named Abraham Heschel. You can just look up Abraham Heschel Sabbath on Amazon or whatever. It's going to be the first book that pops up. It's super popular. And he's this Jewish rabbi from the 50s who wrote this really popular book on Sabbath. And he made this really interesting point where he said that in the same way that the temple functioned for the Jews, which was this building where they could go to meet God, where God would come to meet them, the Sabbath was that same sort of thing, but for time. So if you're thinking of time and space, the world that we live in, it's a world of time and space. The temple is the space where God and people come together. Sabbath is the time where God and people come together. Gotcha. It's the time equivalent of temple is kind of what he said. And the whole thing the thread that got me thinking about was just how the temple for the Jews was really supposed to point to this future reality. It was like a taste, like you were saying, what Paul was saying. It's a little taste of like the future that they're going to get. And it's really important in the crucifixion and in the stories of the Gospels that that this curtain that used to separate God from the people in the temple, there's this curtain in the Holy of Holies. Yeah. Which Gospel is it that describes? Is it John?
Holy of Holies.
Where it describes the curtain.
It's
tearing.
probably John. It's probably going to be John.
Yeah.
Cool.
John.
I think it's John. In the Gospel of John, there's a description of that curtain tearing at the death of Jesus. Yeah. And what I think that's explaining is that Jesus' death has accomplished something, and it's really like changed the whole world in a way. And what you realize is that after Jesus' death, you don't need a temple anymore because God is now with his people. Because that's the whole thing. Jesus is Emmanuel, which means God with us. So what Jesus accomplishes is he accomplishes God with us.
Yeah.
The whole reason I'm bringing that up is I really think that Sabbath was serving a similar purpose for the Jews. It was a way for them to once a week think about what that future reality is going to look like when they don't need a temple anymore, when they don't need a Sabbath anymore, but when God is king and the world is the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And so in some ways, Jesus has already accomplished that with his crucifixion and resurrection and ascension. And so I've been trying in my own life to try to be like, okay, so if we're already living in the age that the Jews were looking forward to, then, and we don't need a temple anymore, then in some ways we don't need, I don't think, a strict Sabbath in the same way that the Jews observed it, because we are living in the age of the Messiah, the age that they were looking forward to. That's what, it's become really important to me, the old way people explain dates where it was BC and then AD, and the year 0 was the way the Romans had thought about the year when Jesus was born.
Yeah.
Because AD in Latin means Anno Domini, which just means in the year or age of our Lord. And so I think the Roman Catholic tradition that set up that dating system, I think they understood this in a way that maybe we sometimes don't as Protestants, which is just that we are currently already in the age of the Messiah, in the year of the Lord, in the age that those people were looking forward to.
Yeah.
So I think Sabbath for the early Jews was a way to look forward to the AD times. Yeah. And I think we are in the AD times. So I think some of the strict observations of Sabbath needs to kind of shift accordingly. Yeah. We don't go to a temple to worship anymore.
Debunk it a little bit.
Yeah, and so I think we don't have to have that strict Sabbath observance necessarily, personally. But I do think that there are some kind of principles to the Sabbath that are things that we can still apply today. And that's what I had to learn, because I think I probably would describe myself as a workaholic. I think my wife, Adrienne, definitely would. She was one of the first that got me thinking about this topic. Adrienne was kind of one of the first that like pulled me aside and was like, look, you work a lot. You're working all the time, and she sent me a few podcasts on Sabbath and a few things to just kind of try to think it through and be like, you just want to make sure that you're like, doing this right, not going to burn yourself out, not going to work too hard and all that kind of stuff. And so I've had to kind of balance that and figure out what is the right way to apply it. But the simplest way I've applied Sabbath in some way in my own life is just trying to really practice that awareness of Jesus's lordship, the fact that he's the king already of the world. He is the one that's in charge right now. I've had to remind myself that a lot with the election and just be like, it doesn't matter who's president, Jesus is still king. And I'm not saying that in a dismissive way, because I know some Christians can say that and be like, don't worry about who's president, Jesus is still king. I think who's president matters, but the ultimate truth of the fact that we are in the AD times and the year of our Lord is now. Yeah. I think it's really important. I don't think we need to forget that. Yeah. So I've been trying to figure that out as I've been kind of navigating what living out Sabbath in my own life looks like.
Yeah, I guess it's I was thinking as you're talking, principles. I never really, I guess, thought about principles for the Sabbath. And I guess it's just kind of understanding myself, and I guess kind of thinking like, okay, if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm in my calling, I'm doing what I'm functioning in my purpose.
Yeah.
But yet I still feel drained. Okay, what exactly do I need rest from?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Like, I'm in my purpose, but yet I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Paul says in Philippians, the famous scripture. I can't think off the top of my head. I always forget it when I'm about to say it. But
don't worry, man. I have so few verses memorized. It's like people. It's like weird because we like, aren't you like a pastor? It's like I got an iPhone. I can look it up.
Philippians 4:13, I think it is. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people misinterpret that scripture. Doesn't mean you can do literally all things. I mean, I can't fly. I can't. I can say a little bit.
Yeah.
You don't know I can't fly.
She don't entertain my singing. She just be, but I can't literally do all things.
Right, right.
It's I can do all things through Christ. If you're going through Christ, then you're obviously going to be in your purpose. Mm-hmm. And so when it comes to doing what you're called to do, that's where your strength comes from, when you're functioning your purpose. So if you're called to be a pastor and you're being a pastor, you're being who God made you to be, you still need rest, but it's like at the end of the day, this is who you're called to be.
Mm-hmm. So you do think that we all need rest, right? Like we need some type of like break from the things that we do.
Yeah.
Would you say that?
Yeah. I think Nick
would.
Yeah.
Would
but it sounds like what you're saying too, though, is that if you are functioning in whatever the role is that God made you to be, you're going to have strength to do that in a way that you wouldn't otherwise. Possibly.
Yeah, it's like you're on my church growing up, it's your anointing. And whenever you're doing something that is righteous, it's always going to be met with opposition. And I guess sometimes it's just knowing your opposition. And knowing how to, what exactly do I need rest from? What about me needs rest?
Yeah.
Is it my mind? Is it, I may have pastors tend to get up and walk and teach in front of people. And I have a bad knee. I need to rest my knee. Can I still do this and rest my, like what do I need rest from?
So it's like important to figure out what are the specific things in your life that are draining you.
Yeah.
And look and rest from those.
Yeah, I guess creating boundaries with those people.
One of the interesting things I've always thought about, because the Sabbath concept in the Old Testament went to all kinds of stuff. It wasn't just like a Saturday they take off.
Yeah.
They had like every few years they would do special things. They had festivals that happened throughout the year that were connected with those Sabbath ideas. Yeah. And one of the things that was always really interesting to me, I preached a sermon on Sabbath the very first week.
Yep.
And I said I misquoted like the year of Jubilee or something like that, and like Noah and like all kinds of other people gave me crap about it. So go ahead and correct me now if I'm saying this wrong, Noah. But I believe, if I'm remembering it correctly, was it every 7 years were they supposed to leave the land, not plant the fields?
Yeah. Every 7 years, on the sixth year, they would get a double portion of what they normally would get, and then the seventh year they'd leave it untilled, just let the land rest for a year, essentially, and then they'd start back over the next year. So, but they'd still own the land. The 50 year is when they'd switch. When
all the land would go back to whoever originally owned it.
Yes.
Right. But every 7 years, because they were like an agricultural people who grew all their food, all their crops and everything like that.
Yeah.
Every seventh year they were supposed to not plant anything and just let the land recuperate a little bit.
Yep.
And rest from farming.
Yeah, that's good.
All the archaeology seems to show that they never did that.
Yep.
Like they, like it was a nice idea, but it's not sure if the Jews ever actually followed through on that.
Yeah.
But I think there is a principle there that I have seen there's some value to, which I would connect. You were asking, do I believe people need rest? And I really do. Jesus had to sleep too. Even Jesus slept and stuff like that. And I think it's really important to notice too, Jesus was often trying to find an opportunity off to himself, just him and God, to recharge and reset a little bit and all that kind of stuff. And that was really important to him too. But I think what I've found is that for you to work at like 100% capacity, you do need it's like a reset button. Like we've had technical difficulties a little bit with some of the live streams. Garrett, I know y'all have been hanging out with a few, helped us figure out a few of those live streams where we've had technical difficulties. And it's amazing how many times just like turning it off and turning it back on again fixes the problem, like turn the computer off, turn it back on, it fixes the problem.
Yep.
And with the land, I feel like that's kind of what was the principle there. They were just like, all right, just like shut it down for a year, let it recuperate. A lot of agricultural experts say that that's really important. It lets the land get its nutrients back so that you can grow more, and it comes back working even stronger. And I've realized that with rest and specifically with sleep. When I was in high school, I was working this job, doing all these like college prep classes and like working at my church and playing in a band and doing all kinds of stuff. And I was getting like 3-4 hours of sleep a night, maybe at the most. And I did that for like 4 years. And then I remember when I got to college, I was like, wait, you're telling me classes don't start till like 10 o'clock? And I only have like 1-2 hour class and then I'm done. And I was like, oh, great, I'm sleeping in.
Yeah.
And what I learned once I started prioritizing sleep was that I'm like sharper and like better off in class because I got plenty of sleep than if I was just to like go. And so the same as it was with agriculture for those early Jews, if they were just going all the time, just always growing crops, over time they were going to get fewer and fewer results from it. Whereas I think the wisdom God is saying is like, look, if you just like shut it down for a year, then come back the next year, you're going to get even more later on. And I found that with sleep. If I make sure I prioritize my sleep, then I'm just like I could work like a 12-hour day with little sleep and get only a little bit done, or I could work like a 8-hour day with tons of sleep and get way more done. And so making sure I have that like rest reset button has been really important to me in a few different ways. And so Noah, me and you talked about that principle could be something that's kind of included within the idea of Sabbath for you, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And I would say that obviously I'm the one that's less tended to like think a lot and work a lot, I like to like go home and like not think about theology and just like go home and read a book, or I like to have my off days and like I like to really have something other than what I'm doing as far as work goes. And I will say that it's been cool to talk to both of you because both of you, I would say, don't have as strong of a belief that you need to have that, as I probably used to have. And that's why I really wanted to have you both on, was I knew that both of you felt that like working, you could do that and still rest as you're working, and for me, I guess I would say that rest, because you asked about whether or not like rest for me, what did you ask again? Like,
I don't even remember.
Okay. I just want to.
I was just so enthralled in what you were saying. Like, no, absolutely.
Because I think what you asked me was whether or not like what did rest mean to me specifically. And rest for me has always been that, right? It's always been
like that reset,
the not working anymore, the pulling away from all of that, and really just, taking a breath to not worry about things. It's sort of even detaching for me and relieving to me. And, we talked about the fact that like your Adrian's whole family, they have this lovely house like down in Mississippi where you can just like sort of get away. And that's like heaven to me. Yeah. It's like very like wonderful to like get away and like have an entire day where I'm just down there looking at a gorgeous lake and trees and things like that and not having to do anything.
It's funny when we were talking about that.
That sounds wonderful right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so like my in-laws, they have this awesome house in Senatobia. They've got like one of those crazy deals on it, and it was like way nicer of a house than they ever thought they would be able to get. And then they've worked hard on it. They've got it like renovated and fixed. It's beautiful. Landscaping, the house, everything. It's amazing. And so my wife, her whole family, they've been like really into the idea of rest, making sure you take a day off, making sure you take a day to rest. And for a while, what that basically looked like was just every Sunday after church, the whole family, all her brothers and sisters, all the significant others, wives, and everybody would all go down to that house and just chill for the day. And that was like the Sabbath rest day for everybody. And Noah started coming down too, just because he was enjoying the like time to chill.
They ended up adopting me. I became an adopted son.
That sounds wonderful. I know it's coming. I'm gonna have to take a break, like a vacation at some point. Like I know it's coming. I think honestly, once me and her actually just kind of do the wedding and get the house, like just move in, I think it's like, okay, we just need to kind of just
chill for a little bit.
Yeah, and I guess it's like at the same time, I question in the back of my mind, like, will I actually be okay with like being gone for a week?
That's what I was going to ask. Like, do you think you could turn your theology mind off for that week, or would that be an issue for you?
The theology, honestly, I truly believe that if I'm rested, I will properly pace myself. If I'm like gone out for a week and I probably will have my book still with me. And I believe that I'll pace myself. Like I'll read and it's like 30 minutes, 45 minutes. And, it's going to be hard for me not to read for a whole week. I'm going to feel so disconnected from the Bible. Like I have to do something.
Yeah.
I guess what really gets me is because I just personally feel like there's not enough people that truly have a mindset to like build the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so it's always usually on like one or two or three people
that do all the work. Like, that you're not wrong. Yeah. It's definitely true.
So if one goes, that affects the two people then.
Yeah.
It's already a lot of work as it is. So leaving for a week, what's happening a week in the ministry? Like it's so many things that can happen. Yeah. And so it's like,
so you feel like if you left, it's like, I'm not sure everything would get done that needed to get done while I'm away. You know?
And I'm not, that's not like saying people don't do.
No,
just
for sure.
The fact that,
it's a worry in your head. Yeah.
A reality is that, people have responsibilities. You can't knock that.
Right.
And I can't expect people to, 'cause I guess what I'm saying is, when it comes to, I know people like me and I know Nick, and it's like, I had to learn the hard way. I cannot expect people to have the heart that I do. Because it's like, that's where my mind is.
Right.
It's like that for a reason. I can't expect somebody to be like, I can't expect you to like leave your job and then risk your job to go pursue full-time ministry and figure it out as you go.
Right.
I can't
yeah.
I mean,
right.
If you do, great.
Yeah.
I can't expect you to have that kind of mindset. Not everybody just.
Yeah, everybody's different.
Like
and I think that's what was funny about those times, though, when we would go down to my in-laws' house, because I think everyone enjoyed it. Everyone loved it, except for me. I was like, because in my mind, the whole time, I'm just like, still got to get this done. There's that other thing that's happening. Or I would get like a great idea this is usually what would happen. I'd be sitting there and I'd be like, oh man, that's a great idea. We totally need to do that. But then I would just have to like sit there the rest of the day and not be able to like do anything about it. So like I was making YouTube videos and stuff for a while, and I still eventually will get back to it. But I would get like an awesome YouTube video idea while I'm like sitting there, and then have to wait till the next day to do it. And I felt like I could just never like capitalize on that like creative energy. Whereas my ideal would have been to like be able to be like, get the idea and then jump right into it and start working on this cool video idea and stuff like that.
Yeah. Moving on your own inspiration.
Yeah. And so I remember kind of struggling with that, because I was like, I was trying to decide, like, am I wrong? Like, am I just like I don't know, workaholic sinner who needs to repent and learn to rest, or is it different? And so, I've kind of thought about it a few different ways, but I do think one of the areas I've really come to is that understanding you were saying before. People are different. People have different callings in life and different expectations of them that God may have. God expects one person to do one thing and a different person to do something else, and He understands that each of us are different. Yeah. And so I think there are different ways that each of us can rest. And what I've really started to discover is that when you are able to really do what God has made you to do, it's energizing in a way that very few other things are. And I think that that's like something good for everybody to pursue, regardless of who you are. It's just like trying to really understand that that like when God wants you to do stuff, it's going to be cool stuff, and He's going to help you do that. Yeah. That cool stuff.
Yeah, that's who you are.
And so that's helpful, just to think through. But I think I've had to learn people are different, and so, Adrienne is not like me, so she just needs a day off. So even though I didn't like taking a whole day to do nothing, I knew she did, because that's her personality and that's who she is. And so we've started trying to really, so I would do it like for her, in that sense. Yeah. And I think to kind of bring it back around to what you were saying before about marriage being like a really awesome opportunity to really think about somebody else instead of yourself. Yeah. That was really cool. I hadn't thought about that as an application of that sort of kingdom ideal, Sabbath ideal, temple ideal of like the new kingdom, whereas the new kingdom is a kingdom where people think about others. And so I think we're almost out of time. So, just to finish out today, I think that would definitely be one of my biggest takeaways I'm going to take away from this, and probably something everybody watching can take away too, is like one of the best ways we can maybe live out that new kingdom life that the Sabbath was pointing to, and we can really bring those principles into practice, is by focusing on other people. And
it sounds to
loving other people.
Yeah, it sounds to me like both of you are coming from a perspective where you're arguing Sabbath doesn't just have to be I don't do anything for a day. It doesn't have to be that. It can be that for some people. Like, for me, I'm more inclined to enjoy that kind of day. But it sounds like both of you are saying that Sabbath for both of you is finding time to sacrifice for another person in some way, finding time to stop what you're normally doing, whatever it may be in your working life, and intentionally maybe having a conversation with someone or your wife, or loving your wife, like whatever it may be. Sabbath to you is taking a break from your normal working routine, and instead
learning to focus on
other people in really extraordinary ways. Right. Would that be a good summary?
And I don't think I even realized that would be one way I thought about it until talking just now. So I think I learned something today. I'm gonna take that.
There we go. Like looking at Jesus, the miracles He performed were for other people. Yeah. And honestly, defining a miracle. It's multiple definitions. I know one of the biggest ones is just define the odds of nature. And to me, honestly, I think it's safe to say that focusing on somebody else in this world nowadays is a miracle. We don't.
Yeah.
I guess I don't go over time.
Oh, you're good.
Yeah, you're good.
One thing I'm studying, and I think when I do start teaching consistently, one of the things I'm going to always, I think, center my teachings around is people. You know, we say the kingdom of God a lot, but what does that really mean? Like, what is the kingdom of? How do you define what is the?
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of them terms we say a lot.
Right.
We never really, and I guess in my studies and what I've grasped is power, people, place. You know, God has his power, and he wants to, you know, give it to people. And those people use that power to do something with it to influence the place.
Yeah.
And this place just stands out, you know, because it's holy, and that's
the power
really what
and the
it
people
is,
that are
power,
there.
people, place. And I think we in church have a grasp of power. Guys, we know what that is.
Yeah.
God's power. But for some odd reason, we skip people and go to place. We don't really think about people. Like, you know, we overlook people, words we use, and we, you know, cursing people out, and it's a lot of things we do, and you know, it's popular to cut somebody off, and it's popular, and I mean, it's so instilled in society. I mean, like when somebody calls you got to ignore option. Think about that. Like, I have option to ignore people. Like, and I'm not trying to get too deep into it, but I just do think that if we're not careful, not we in here, but just people, you know, it'd be so easy to just have this mindset where you're just naturally designed and framed by society to treat people in a way to where you're not really focusing on them. You're thinking about yourself and maybe your family, and you should. Yeah. You know, but I do think that, you know, God did call us to consider people. Yeah. And I think that's one thing we have really overlooked for a long time. Like, can people honestly say that we know how to treat people? Yeah.
I think that would be huge.
That's
sure.
That's
like the
that's
center.
your wheelhouse. Nick. Like
sure.
Nick is on.
So I don't want to say anything else. I think we'll just leave it there. Well, that's a perfect place to leave it. Yeah. That can be a way we can all kind of apply it. I think that's what the kingdom of God's all about. Yeah. I think that's how we as members of the kingdom can really do what we need to do. Yeah. Notice the people around you. Notice the people that need love, and just, you know, focus on those people. Yeah. Especially right now. We'll see how today turns out. We'll see how what's going on in this season turns out. But I think one of the best ways we can really make a difference is focusing on people. So we'll just leave it with that for today. Thanks to all of y'all for tuning in.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Feel free as well. Definitely tune in this Sunday at 7 to our Sunday live stream, and we also hope to continue seeing y'all in the following weeks on our Wednesday deep dives. All right. So thanks, guys.
Nick's gonna take a couple minutes to turn off the live stream. So
did I like get up? We're just smiled already.
to say goodbye. Bye all.